It was as if I wasn't there. So I became the silent observer, but then suddenly, the atmosphere around me drastically changed. The room expanded, and there was an endless spectrum of color. Everything seemed brighter and softer. I heard a soft, melodious voice saying, "Everything is okay, Enki." I turned and saw a radiant figure smiling at me. It was as high as the ceiling, and the light was so indescribably bright that I could barely make out a body. The figure moved cautiously and respectfully toward me, and I sensed that the figure was emanating a somewhat masculine energy. I felt protected and safe because it felt as if this being knew me. I asked, "Are you here to take me? Am I dead?" "Not at all," he replied. "There's nothing to be afraid of. All your questions will be answered soon. I'd like to show you a few things." I could feel myself being drawn into the luminous energy field about me. I was able to start to let go of everything that had been weighing me down. The more I let myself go and gave in to the vibration of the light-filled presence, the more detached I felt. Although I referred to him here as he, some of his qualities felt male, but some of his qualities felt very female. This being possessed every quality I associate with love and all that I imagine goodness to be. I'd never felt so loved in such an unconditional, appreciative, and personal way. It still moves me today. This being, I call my teacher, took me through a life review, and I learned the lessons for my life, who my parents were, and everything that had happened to me as I was growing up had a purpose. She was shown her birth, and she cried out because she was surprised to see her teacher there too. She said, "You were there both times, when I was born and when I was dying." And the teacher answered, "I'm always there." She was very reluctant, in fact, frightened to go back into her body. But her teacher urged her to go back. And as the doctors brought her out of her coma, she felt a peaceful, deep inner happiness as she switched back and forth between outer consciousness and then going back on the inner with the source. She asked for a mirror and was horrified by how she looked. And she met so many challenges. Everything was new, everything was strange. She healed a little more every day, in fact, quite quickly. And a couple weeks later, Enki released herself from the hospital against the doctor's wishes. The medical staff urged her to stay, thinking she needed their help to heal, but she felt she would heal faster at home with her loved ones. At home, everything was different. The food I had eaten before no longer even appealed to me. When I opened my wardrobe, the clothes didn't feel like mine, as if they were belonged to somebody who didn't even exist anymore. I had a new sensitivity to vibration, colors, form, structure, and I was attentive and kind to myself. I no longer felt isolated and afraid. I felt fulfilled and happy. By surrendering, I had relinquished control for the first time in my life. I'd stopped fighting. I was like a child discovering a new world. I sensed the light-filled being as a golden yellow vibration. I merged with my teacher and experienced the world in a whole new way. When something didn't feel right, I immediately felt discomfort and was aware of it. The teacher always tried to make me aware of what she called my sacred vessel, my body, and told me to listen to guidance, live a full life, and carry the memory always of love. The attempts her teacher made to help Enki be aware of the before and after of her life and of her need to change her way of being were very creative. I was surprised when I found this out. She had a whole new way of looking at the world. Her teacher took her inside a snow globe where her former life was reflected. The snow globe seemed to be used to help Anki see clearly what her world looked like before, as she grew up, and to help her see how she might break out of that world now. As I entered the snow globe, she says, my perceptions changed. I saw a cocoon inside. The snow globe contained all my experiences, all my thoughts, all my reality before the fire. I could see into the globe, but once inside, all was mirrors. I couldn't see out. My old feelings flooded back. I began to see the world as I saw it before the accident. My familiar doubts about myself came back. Inside the snow globe was a limited, self-reflecting world. I began to feel separate from my teacher. I felt disconnected from everything. And then she says, it seems that the cocoon in the snow globe filters our consciousness. It splits our consciousness from the higher spiritual realm, creating the illusion of separation from it.